Good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. If there was one thing particular about the end of year speech of the President of the Republic of Cameroon on the 31st of December 2016, it was the constant reminder that Cameroon is one and indivisible. This word that was re-echoed on several occasions was, of course, a direct response to happenings in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, that is the two English-speaking regions in Cameroon. Now, the present Anglophone problem, though this word was not mentioned at all by the President of the Republic, was a greater aspect of his speech. Tonight or this afternoon, we are going to be looking at the socio-economic, political and historical analysis. So what our guest this afternoon will be making of the speech of the President of the Republic of Cameroon. We thank you once again for joining us. We shall be right back. Once again, good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching a special program on the end of year speech of the President of the Republic of Cameroon. And joining us this afternoon, we have Michel Ndoki. Good evening to you, or good afternoon rather. Good day. You are a supporter of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement Party of Professor Maurice Kamto. You left the CPP, that was in 2014. After spending 2 years as a supporter of the party, we welcome you to join us tonight.
Thank you.
Now, we equally have as guest Mr. Ako John Ako. You are a political analyst. We thank you so much for joining us in this program.
Once more, the pleasure is mine, talking to Cameroonians on issues that concerns Cameroon.
The pleasure is ours as well. Tonight as well, we have as guest Mr. Ngindo Gilbert, a historian. We thank you so much for joining us on this special program to talk about the speech of the President of the Republic. We thank you.
Thank you, Mimi. Thank you. Good evening, televiewers. Nice to be here and to talk about things that preoccupy the nation. Thank you. We
equally have Barrister Fru John So, that is a common law lawyer. Good afternoon to you. We thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, madam.
You are head of the legal team that is defending victims of the Zika train accident that took place in the month of October 2016 in Cameroon.
Exactly.
Now, before we get the reactions of our guest this afternoon, we first of all have to come back to the summary of the speech of the President of the Republic of Cameroon that was on the 31st of December 2016 at exactly 8 p.m. For Hansen Chanji comes back to the summary of his speech in the following report. Before we come back to the speech of the head of state that was talking about a greater part of the speech of the head of state, he was talking about the Anglophone problem. He equally touched some economic aspects in Cameroon, the balance sheet for the year 2016. We'll begin right away with Michel Ndoki. Michel Ndoki, the head of state, in his address to the nation, said that happenings in the northwest and southwest regions of the country were spearheaded by some manipulated and exploited extremists. Those were his words. What's your reaction?
My reaction is those are not surprising words in his mouth. We used to saying President Paul Biya reacting like that whenever his authority is questioned, because we do believe that in this party and its president consider the Cameroon country as their country and people of Cameroon as their somebody said slaves. I will not use the word slave, but people that are beyond or beneath them. And actually they tend to forget that it is the other way around. Actually, the President of the Republic worked for us. He worked for us as Cameroonian people. So anytime the Cameroonian people come out and say we have an issue, the reaction, remember what happened in 1992, remember what happened in 2008. The reaction is always the same. I want order, and order will come back. So I'm not surprised. I'm saddened by the world, and CRM is saddened by the words of the president. As a party, we met with the leaders of this movement, and we reported to the government that we had met with them. It was a very long meeting, lasted for something like 10 hours, and afterwards we made recommendation to help the government, as it is our citizens' duty, deal with that issue. Of course, we were not listened to, and of course, Cameroonian people are not listened to. So that's basically the situation we're in.
And from our other guests, we'll be finding out from them in just few minutes from now whether they were equally surprised as well, whether the statements of the President of the Republic on Saturday is a solution to the problems raised in the two English-speaking regions of the country. But before that, let us come back to the summary of his speech with Mfohansen Chanji.
Camerounaises, Camerounais, mes chers compatriotes.
Fellow Cameroonians, my dear compatriots.
Just like in 2015, President Paul Biya began the 2016 end-of-year address by talking about resilience of Cameroonians as far as security and the economy is concerned. But he says in 2016, the level of security was commendable and resilience of the economy appreciated by the International Monetary Fund.
We got off to a good start. Donors, including the International Monetary Fund, hailed the resilience of our economy despite an unfavorable context.
He admitted the political and social atmosphere that has fragilized the economy in 2016 and says all have to live together. He says Cameroon is one country and indivisible, proud of unity in diversity.
Cameroon's unity is therefore a precious legacy with which no one should take liberties. Any claim to, no matter how relevant, loses or loses its legitimacy once it jeopardizes even slightly the building of national unity.
President Paul Biya talked about the Ezeka train incident and says investigations are ongoing and that he will act on time as far as actors of the strike action in the northwest and southwest regions are concerned. President Paul Biya described them as extremists and manipulators who are manipulating Cameroonians and many who lost their lives.
Due to the acts of a group of manipulated and exploited extremist rioters, Cameroonians have lost their lives. Public and private buildings have been destroyed. The most sacred symbols of our nation have been desecrated.
He admitted that political and union activities are free but must be guided by the state. The strike action, he says, must be well announced ahead of time. He condemned acts of violence wherever it is coming from and invited the people to take part in national dialogue through various committees put in place.
They have, in many cases, raised substantive issues that cannot be overlooked. I have enjoined the government to engage in frank dialogue with the various parties concerned to find appropriate solutions to the issues raised.
Equally admitted that the revendication of teachers and lawyers were founded. He says Cameroon should consolidate internal security and reorganize the return of displaced persons and local economy. President Paul Biya announced big projects which are almost ready to be used, like the Kribi Port, the Lompanga Dam and the Memvele Making Power Dam. He announced the construction of the Bini Warak, the Menchum Fall and the Songdong dams to boost energy production, the construction of road networks and railway interregional networks in order to ease transportation. He announced that in 2016, before October, 320,000 jobs were created.
Happy and prosperous New Year 2017. Long live Cameroon.
Vive le Cameroun.
That was the speech of the President of the Republic of Cameroon there, compiled by Mfo Hansen Chanji. We move right away to our second guest for tonight, Mr. Ako John Ako. You heard the declarations or statements of the President of the Republic of Cameroon calling those who were orchestrating the strike action in the two English-speaking regions as manipulators, extremists. He equally said that their voices have been heard. Looking at what he said, do you have the impression that the government is ready to solve the problems raised by the striking teachers, lawyers, and Anglophones in general?
Yeah, Mimi, it is but deplorable that a country like ours, the head of state, for once he has failed to give confidence to Cameroonians, telling Cameroonians he's capable of bringing solutions to their problems. For the whole speech of the president, I never heard him speak of the word the lawyers. I never heard him mention the situation of the teachers. He used the word extremist. He used the word national unity. Without what unity Cameroonians are in, when the head of state cannot answer basic problems. He mentioned of the Executive incident, and I'm telling you, it is more than 2 months the head of state has not given us concrete decisions and solutions to these issues. I doubted if the speech was a protocol standard, just that the head of state has to talk to Cameroonians on the 31st of December. I mean, like the president of our country, the head of state, was supposed to be concretely telling Cameroonians the solutions he has arrived or the decision he is willing to take or what he has taken concerning Ezeka. But none. The head of state is still waiting for a report and then draw conclusions. We remember the commission created to get into the Ezeka incident was given 1 month to present his reports. But if the results have not been presented and even the head of state is not aware of the resolutions arrived at, I think there is still a problem. And so I call it a governance issue, to which the head of state himself is the chef of this orchestra. And so if we have to point hands to those who have laid down Cameroon, then the head of state, I mean, this particular speech this year was empty and carries nothing within it as an ingredient to which Cameroonians should even count on. It is just equally telling us that maybe at times somebody at age 90 is not capable of being productive again. And this is when we say people should go on retirement, sit at their homes and enjoy newspapers and equally read journals of other broadcasting organizations. The head of state has failed from being an actor, I mean a political actor, which can lead Cameroon to the next generation. We are talking of a lot of incidents. These are the teachers whom we know, the basic education. Education is the backbone and the key of every economy. This is a critical moment. The head of state was supposed to come out firmly and said.
But he said the voices have been heard.
Yeah, I mean, we are not, I said 2 months after, we are not going to say we have heard the voices. We have to pass to decision phases. We arrive at
concrete actions.
Concrete actions of what the government. If we have listened, then we know the problem. And obviously we should get the solutions. I am equally going to tell those who may be thinking that we are here to jeopardize the unity of the state. No Cameroonian has ever said this country is not united. We are even more united than the head of state could think, because some of us can speak French, we can read in French, we can teach in French, but we are still waiting for an occasion when the head of state, as the head of this nation, thinking of unity, should express Cameroonians or give a speech in both the 2 official languages of this nation and even not a translated speech. And you know what they mean by a translated speech. We cannot talk it within these borders, but if you get within political science, it will just mean that the second person whose language is being translated meant nothing to the country we claim we are united. If we are united, I mean the spirit should come with him, the leader of this nation, to give us a reason of feeling united.
Mr. Fru John, so the president talked about the rule of law that is existing in Cameroon. Cameroon is a country with a rule of law. As a legal mind, do you share a similar view with the head of state?
I beg to disagree with the old man. I say old man because for 34 years he has been in power. I now classify him among the dictators of the world, the oldest dictator in the world. Castro is gone, so he is the oldest now in the world. And talking about the speech and this thing about the rule of law, there's no rule of law in Cameroon. I've been in practice for more than 32 years. We struggle every day to establish the rule of law. It is not working. That said, I want to come back to that speech because I wasn't expecting him to say anything positive. All I wanted to hear was about what is happening in the Northwest and the Southwest province. He came out fighting. He came out fighting and said little or nothing other than the fact that he's going to create another structure. Look, what structure does he want to create? He appointed a commission after Cameroonians died in the Zeka. That report, I am told, is on his table because he gave 30 days. And the 30 days were now in 2 months.
Of course.
He has that report. What has he said about that report? I am at the head of lawyers leading the defense of those who died and those who were wounded in that accident. We are not going to hear anything from this country because we know that the man who killed our people is so powerful. We are not expecting him to take any decision that will affect the rights of those who died and those who were wounded. So we are going ahead to defend them, not only here, but in France, where those who killed our people come from. The people who manage Camrai are all Frenchmen. I want to make it clear here, they are all Frenchmen. And we have clients who were also Frenchmen who were wounded in that accident. So we are applying Article 115 of the French Penal Code, and we are going to go after that man, the man who owns 87% of Camrai. The government owns only 13%. He owns 87% of Camrai, together with Total, Groupe Bolloré and Total and Tannery.
So you are not giving up?
We are not giving up.
Mr.
We will go to the logical end. But before I leave, I want to say something about the Northwest and Southwest issue. We started in 1993. This government decided not to listen to any Anglophone. The West Cameroon came into this union as a state, and our forefathers laid the foundation, which was a federation. Since then, we have gone from one illegality to the other.
He made mention of the forefathers in his speech.
Yes,
saying
but
that
the forefathers in his speech, he is talking about the type of unity that he thinks he wants to bring to this country. This country has been unified since 1961, but they, him, and Ahijo, and others have been trying to destroy that unity. Because the English-speaking Cameroonians have now been relegated as second-class citizens. I want to take this medium to inform him that the West Cameroonians are determined to go to the logical end of this fight. No matter what he says, no matter, like the parliamentarian said, he can bring all the army like he has produced all the army in the Northwest and Southwest today. He can bring all the army, he can even invite the French army. It's not going to solve this problem. He has not been managing this country. I don't even know whether he lives here.
Yes, Mr. Ngindo Gibet, the word unity kept resurfacing in the speech of the President of the Republic, talking about the need for Cameroonians to be united. Cameroon is one and indivisible. Does it give the impression that he is accepting that there's already a problem? Even though he said that there should be rule of law, he equally said that the voices have been heard, dialogue is the only solution at this point in time. Does it give the impression that the head of state has accepted that there is a problem in the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon?
Thank you, Mimi. Before I respond straight to your question, permit me say that I keenly listened to a speech delivered by a political man. You know, there are two types of leadership. You have a statesman and you have a political man. And I would like to come from that angle. A political man is he who, everything he tries to do while in power is to keep him in power. Meanwhile, a statesman is he who, what he does is to advance the nation. I believe very well that everything that President Biya said was to make people believe that he is the best to be voted come the next elections. Coming back straight to your question, the word unity. As to whether he accepted the problem, I would like to say very clearly that he has never any day as the leader of this country forgotten that there is part of the country which is in deep shit, who are Anglophones. He inherited that from Aiju. The word unity exists, but I would like to question if the unity in it is sincere. I bumped into some of my history colleagues a day and I almost removed my shirt and threw. When I heard one of them carefully made a statement which got me so my brains were damaged. He said, I quote him, on a colonisé les anglophones. I interrupted into them. I created a scene where people came, and I told him that we are all historians. There is a moral responsibility that every historian is attached to, that of bringing the past to present to encourage development. But that past should be brought the way it was, not to thwart it. How dare you, in any milieu, say you colonize Anglophones? It means that you don't deserve being a historian. The two parts of this country that were separated by foreigners, torn apart by foreigners for their personal and egoistic reasons, since 1916, struggled on their own and came together. Let me tell you that Cameroonians of the English-speaking expression and those of the French-speaking expression came together. One of them was the leader of North. I want to think that when you leave River Mongo, you're moving up towards the north. You look at, on the other side, you have the Douala and the Bakweri. When you move up, you have the Mbogo are separated. I mean, across the boundary line, there are families who are separated by that boundary line. When you move up towards Chang and the Bama areas where I come from, we have families which are across the boundary. And when we look at them, we feel together. And then, when we are now forced to look at each of them in a competitive point of view, in a kind of hatred point of view, we start to question, what kind of leadership do we have? We were supposed to be given conditions that will provide that unity, conditions that will make us live united without any reserve. But sorry to say that that has not been the case. When I look behind, decades behind, right from 1960, when we reunited with our brothers of the French expression up to today, I wonder where we are moving to. And I just wish that the whole system be revived. I have this impression that there are republics within this republic. There are several republics. And when you look at the center, you see the president and the head of state himself who is there. But around him, there is another republic. That republic are those who have vowed never to let him know the truth, who have vowed to tell him things that occur in his country the way they like. What do you mean
by they have vowed never to tell him the truth when he's the head of state? He's supposed to be aware of happenings in the country.
And that's exactly what I said. They are republics. The people have acted in such a way that they make sure that what happens, like for instance, we do not understand why teachers who cried the kind of way the English subsystem of education is treated, lawyers who cry why a heritage, one of the heritage of the Anglophone Cameroon is being thwarted, is being tantalized, is being manipulated.
Does the silence make you understand that the president is not really aware of what is happening? Is that what you think?
Let's be clear about this. When the strike came out and the response was that 2 billion francs has been disbursed to private schools, 1,000 bilingual science teachers have been asked to be recruited.
Would be recruited.
Answer this question. Does it in any way reflect the demands of the teachers and the lawyers?
The teachers themselves have denied that's a solution. Mr. John Ako, I would like to find out from you, the President of the Republic talked about street violence, verbal violence, confrontations with authority. That is no way to, that nothing can ever be achieved if you use street violence like what happened in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. How do you interpret that? Does it tell us that the grievances would in no way never be addressed?
Most often than not, it is not for the first time that whenever Cameroonians come out, the government has always been looking for other confines or other centers of preventing or justifying their position to kill, the position to intimidate, and even to, in fact, force Cameroonians not to do what they were not, first of all, at the beginning. When the teachers came out on strike, I have said several times, a strike is a legal right, to which the President of the Republic recognized that it is a basic right, written at the United Nations Charter. It is equally a basic right, taken into position by the Constitution of this country. But then, what is the nature when people have used what they call the legal means? People have written a lot of memoranda to the head of state, to the President of the Republic, the Prime Minister, the Minister of Justice. For more than a year, there was no response. And now when the individual came out now, because I will tell you that a strike remains the most victorious instrument of every worker. It is the only instrument that can bring, not only the industry, but the state to a standstill. And it is one of those instruments which at any time used, state authorities will always react. But then, in 2008, Cameroonians were very hungry because of high cost of living. The head of state, for the very first time, even he had the opportunity to talk to Cameroonians. He called all of them his apprenticed here. Now again, we are seeing another situation which, in fact, the grounds are clear and accepted, and we are calling them extremists. It is at least shocking. This is what we are saying. What legality do we call? There is also a right to go for a strike, and people have the right to.
And he accepted that.
And so
that
that's what
we're
saying.
Right to go on strike.
So if there is a right to go to strike, and the government recognizes that there is a reason for these people, and that their demands are valid, then you propose us the solution. This is what we are waiting, Mimi. We are waiting that the state should get into the solution phase rather than confrontation.
Ms. Mishendoki, the head of state equally talked about the putting in place of a national entity to solve this problem. Ad hoc committees are already existing that to tackle the problems of teachers, that for the lawyers. He is talking now about a national entity. What do you have to say about that? What difference would it make?
First thing I have to say is, please note how the problem is described and how we gradually shift from a problem that is posed by citizens to a problem that is posed by professionals. And this is our first red flag. What are the issues at stake? Cameroonians are telling you the conditions of living are not good, because they don't have the right conditions for working, because they don't have a job, because they don't have right if you talk
they
about
don't have
the teachers,
good roads, they have poor living conditions, many other problems.
Of the people that were on strike, and people tend to forget that this is not a strike that was created by teachers and lawyers. They were just one group among others. Students went into the street. What we call bench sickeners went into the street. And it was not only in Northwest and Southwest. This also people tend to forget. People from hospitals went on strike. People called boxers went on strike. And you can name them. A lot of groups are waking up and saying this is enough. And then it starts, oh no, it's a problem, Anglophone versus Francophones. And they start saying Anglophones are second-class citizens. Who are the first-class citizens? You tell me. There's no first-class citizen in this country. Only people that are suffering and struggling because we have a government that is incompetent. A government of people that are there because they love themselves and not because they love their countries. So, coming back to your question, what is the use of a national commission? When did you get the impression that the government were there to solve our issues? We stopped thinking about that long ago. We know they are there to keep their power. So the solution to the problem, and those young people from Kumba, from Tiko, from Yaoundé, Douala, because you have business people in markets that also went on strike in November, they have understood. We need to stop obeying to a government that is unfaithful to us. That's where the problem, the solution lies. It's not in conversations with government.
Based on the declarations of Ms. Mishendoki, the problem lies at the level of crisis management. At different levels, at different moments in Cameroon, we have been seeing strike actions like she earlier indicated. Now, the problem is how to handle some of these problems that the government seem to, the government seem to be missing out on how to solve some of these problems. Shouldn't it be another focal point for the government to think about how these problems, crises, issues, grievances raised, whether by the teachers, Cameroonians in general, should be managed?
Well, before I answer that, let me give you a quote. When injustice is law, resistance becomes a duty. We, when I say we, West Cameroon, we have resisted. This is the second time. And anytime we resist, we got killed. In 1990, 1992, 1990 when the SDF was launched, we lost our people. In 1992, the upheaval, we lost some. In 2008, we lost people. On the 8th of this December, we lost people. For how long will the Northwest and the Southwest continue to pay the extreme sacrifice? We have decided this time that we must continue to resist. When I say we, I mean we of the West Cameroon, because this union was made of two different states, the East Cameroon and the West Cameroon, and unification. That said, none of us, nobody from the East Cameroon or the West Cameroon is calling to question the unity of this country. No. But we are saying that what our forefathers laid down as a federation, we want it back so that we manage ourselves. Because this government has shown to be incapable of managing anything. They have failed 3 times to solve this problem. They have created all kinds of ad hoc committees. They've gone to Bamenda. The Prime Minister went to Bamenda. They have gone up and down. They are unable to solve this problem. What is the solution? The solution to me is the Cameroonian people. We must go back to a conference and get back to where our forefathers brought us back. In 1961, Article 49 of that Constitution clearly states that before you change the form of the state, you must refer to the party assemblies affected.
Which is not the case.
Which was not the case, and they changed it illegally. Since then, illegality has been the hallmark of this government. That's why I give you the quote again. When injustice becomes law, resistance becomes
Mr. Ngindo Gibbet. Now, the lawyers and the teachers have maintained that only the return to federation is the last option at this point in time, from the speech of the head of state, who stressed on reinforcing unity in the country. Do you think that their wish can be granted?
Well, if I remember the speech delivered in Bamenda by late Jane Foncha, a speech from where he met West Cameroon, or the English Cameroonians, to know that he has resigned from the CPDM as national vice chairman. There is a statement he used there that what he struggled with the other partners to put in place so that our people can live happily has been turned around, and the rule of gun has overtaken the rule of dialogue. And however, I want to stress on that statement, however, it is not late. Something can still be done. These are the words he used. By that note, I think that it's a long road, but which is possible. Long road in that we happen to be under an umbrella where threats are our everyday partner. And then torments from, unfortunately, the people we met on very frank and a very good basis. They have decided to look down on West Cameroon. You notice that frequently the word West Cameroon, Southern Cameroon has become so frequent now because people are feeling back to those days. Now, the process to come back to that is difficult, but it doesn't mean that it is not possible. It is legal. We've gone past the period when we're going to take guns or take weapons to the road to begin to fight people. But there are institutions through which we follow them up very well, from national and international. It is going to materialize. Believe me, it is going to materialize. And as long as we are concerned now, the grouping of Southern Cameroon or West Cameroon now, the determination which is within them now shows that if we move ahead, we put our hands on the table and say this marginalization, this smatching of English Cameroon has to stop. And we move ahead in that direction. Either a federation will have to come back. I must be frank to you that I am not partisan of those that think that our country should be separated. I cannot be part of that, because these are people who Westerners separated. If we agree that our country should be separated, West Cameroon should break away, it will mean that we have allowed ourselves to be carried away by what Britain and France did to us. Let us defy their divisions, come back together, but then obey our federation that from the onset we put in place, so that those who are leaders of every zone should be accountable to the people who have put them there, so that federation can follow.
Do you think that federation can be accepted by the head of state, the current president of Cameroon?
It is not like being accepted. The head of state has been very recalcitrant and so easy to accept changes. At one time I have said it is time for Cameroonians to rewrite their own history. Let's forget about what the French did, forget about what the British, but what is good for our situation. To manage cultural diversity, to manage language diversity or legal biojurism, you will understand with me that we need a government that gets down to the grassroots, that answers the people's problem at the base. And this is the actors or the actions of federalism. Federalism, they will elect their governors, they will elect their mayors. Exactly. There will be no government delegate. When we need water, we write direct to the regional government. Exactly. And the government gives us water. If we need the road, the regional government will give us road. Yes. We need not write a letter directly to Yaoundé. Yes. These are the importance of federalism. And I will still insist, and I will tell the head of state, that federalism does not mean disunity or dividing. The United States is federal. Great Britain, federal.
Do you think he doesn't understand what federation is?
If that is what I come to it, I will tell you, Mimi, the head of state knows the importance of federalism, but he is being joined by the old school ideas of centralization and unity given to us by the French. And so behind, there is a colonial idea which he does not want to change his position. I believe if he has to accept with Cameroonians, federalism, I tell you, will answer the issues of Cameroon.
Thank you so much, Mr. John Ako. You wanted to
yes, I would like
briefly.
Yes, very briefly. We believe when a leader is a leader, the question in his hand is to know what is best for the people. So it's not about understanding or being against or being. It's not about Mr. Paul Biya. It is about the Cameroonian people. We do believe the question of federalism should be addressed in a way as to understand what are the issues we're trying to solve. If we are trying to solve issues of being in having autonomy in the way we manage our basic issues, then decentralization might be a good answer. Decentralization could be a good answer if it had been implemented in this country, and it has not even been implemented, and that is the reason why the government doesn't want to talk about federalism, because actually the government wants to keep the management of the money, because money is what is at stake. If you go to decentralization, then you send the money back to the regions, and that they don't want, and that is the reason we don't have regions as per our constitution as at now. So first of all, let's think about what exists. Are we doing what is provided for in the constitution? That is a position, and I think, gentlemen, we've heard that is the essence of it. We are Cameroonian and we are discussing Cameroonian issues. Yes. When we talk about art history, and that is the last thing I want to say, and I'm saying that with an historian here, we tend to talk as if our history started in 1960. It started well before.
Way back
even
before.
when we talk about thank you, because I would like us now to discuss that is important.
We take our viewers to Boya, where local inhabitants gathered in their different joints to follow the speech of the President of the Republic of Cameroon, though the speech in itself was already present on social media over 1 hour before the President of the Republic addressed the nation. Let's now see how the people in the Southwest Regional Headquarters of Boya follow the speech of the President of the Republic. Derek Jato has that story. The report of Derek Jato, we surely shall be coming back to that in the course of this program. Now, Barrister Frujon, you want to react on
Let me react. Decentralization by the 1996 constitutional law, I wouldn't call it a constitution, because we have the Constitution of 1972, and if you read what was passed in Parliament in 96, it says law numero
Yes, I agree with you on that, yes.
Modifier et complétant,
you know I agree with you on that.
Modifier en complétant certaines dispositions de la Constitution de 1972. That is what it says.
Yes.
So, if you look at that decentralization that they voted, it does not match, doesn't give you the right to rule yourself, to be autonomous. It creates regions that they manage. If you look at it very carefully.
So it's completely different.
The federation is different in the fact that you actually manage your local structures, and then the government, the federal government is the manager, is the umbrella of the two states, and looks and takes major decisions, foreign policy, the army, and so on, that affects the whole nation. I will repeat, no Cameroonian today wants to separate this country. But we are saying that the way this regime has held Cameroon hostage for 32 years, it is time for Cameroonians, listen, for Cameroonians to get together.
Thank you.
It's not just an issue for the English-speaking region.
It is our common struggle. Wherever we come from in Cameroon, our common struggle is to get rid of that government.
I want to know something. It seems to me as if Francophones have not been following us. Because if you hear some of the comments made by...
We'll be coming back to the way this issue is being handled nationally. Time for us to go to the Southwest Regional Headquarters of Buea and see how local inhabitants follow this end-of-year speech of the President of the Republic. Derek Jato is a man on that beat. He tells us more.
With all their five senses switched on, the long-awaited moment is finally here. President Paul Biya end-of-year address to the nation.
Camerounais, mes chers compatriotes,
Fellow Cameroonians,
the Buea Council has gathered this population here for the end-of-year concert, but first, to listen to President Biya's speech to the nation. And present here at the Buea Independence Square is the Secretary General and the Head of Economic, Social and Cultural Division at the Southwest Governor's Office, among others.
I have enjoined the government to engage in frank dialogue with the various parties concerned.
Mr. Biya, accepting in his speech that there is an Anglophone problem and making it known to all that dialogue is ongoing to rescue the situation, caught the attention of Mayor Ekema Patrick Esunge of the Buea Council.
We succeeded to an extent within our confines, within our municipality, to ensure that dialogue prevails, and that has been the emphasis of the head of state, and we call on the population to respect such directives, and more especially the constitution of our country.
Mayor Mukundo Daniel Ngande of Tiko Council also shared the same opinion.
So I think also that dialogue structure, we need people who have a mastery and wonderful skills in the negotiation process.
On the street, some Buea people said they were expecting President Paul Biya to apologize on behalf of his security forces for their brutality on civilians.
He was instead talking of the Boko Haram situation in the far north, of which it was not even the situation here in the Anglophone section, and those in the Yaoundé Koulégi to be released. But he made no speech in that. I don't know if you were told about that.
To some, nothing came out of President Paul Biya's address.
We wanted him to talk something important about the Anglophone problem. The Anglophone are suffering, they are marginalizing us in this country. Nothing good in that speech.
Now the nation has crossed into 2017. But what next, especially in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, is the million-dollar question still looming.
That is how inhabitants of Buea in the Southwest region follow the end-of-year speech of the President of the Republic. Now, one of our guests, who is an economic operator, is joining us in this edition of the special program as far as the speech of the head of state is concerned. Mr. Atria Shwebu, we thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here with you on the panel to discuss about some of the burning issues that are taking place in our country. Thank you.
Now, before you came, we had been talking about the way or what the head of state actually talked about, the problems rocking the two English-speaking regions in Cameroon. In Bamenda, the problems of the lawyers and teachers, the problems of federation, and the problems of Anglophones in general. Now, dialogue is underway, almost failing in code, as I can say. We saw how lawyers staged a walkout in Bamenda. It was a similar, staged a walkout in Yaoundé was a similar situation with the teachers in Bamenda in the Northwest region. Now, the head of state is talking about the creation or putting in place of a national entity to tackle this problem. What is going to be the difference? Do you think that it's going to solve any problem?
Yeah, the solution the speech of the president will bring to Cameroonians is like what happened to Ezeka. As an entrepreneur, you should understand that when there is social unrest, it automatically affects the economic sector of the country. So far, for getting to 2 months, the Northwest regions and the Southwest regions, they have not been having activities.
More than 2 months.
Yeah, automatically you should then understand that that is going to simply increase the high rate of already existing unemployment that is in our country. So the speech of the President of the Republic last evening went a long way just to mock at English-speaking Cameroonians, most especially those from the Northwest and those from the Southwest, and particularly the lawyers and teachers. Yeah, you should understand that in every country, when there is social unrest, like I said some minutes ago, automatically it paralyzes the economic functioning of the regime. So far, we actually expected the president to come up with a speech that would really push these striking teachers and lawyers and even other groups of individuals to really come to a round table. But he said there is a commission of that he has put in place. So we actually question to know when these commissions, groups of people are going to sit on a round table to look themselves into their faces.
And how soon the solutions?
How soon, like I said, you know,
that's very important.
Exactly, the Executive accident. He equally, I mean, the Prime Minister here actually commissioned some groups of persons to actually come out to give us a result or tell us what actually transpired. For several Cameroonians to lost their lives, but till today, you know, they were given, the commissions was given 1 month to come out with a result, and so far. So this is one of the reasons why I think the English-speaking Cameroonians of this country do not believe in the commission of the President of the Republic, because on several occasions he has made several promises and he has never respected any of these promises. So this is
now, Ms. Michelle Ndoki, a greater part of youths who listen or follow the speech of the president, there were youths that have almost been frustrated in the Northwest and Southwest regions of the country that have not been able to go to school. Those of the primary, secondary, and even at the level of the university, they have not been able to go to school for almost the first term. The second term is in few days or probably in a week. What do you have to say about these youths that almost did not hear what they intended to hear, that would calm the teachers, calm the lawyers for things to return to normal?
Yes, it's as we said before, as I said before, we are very sad to hear what we heard. We were very sad to hear what we heard 2 days ago, because we do not believe that's the right approach to this kind of issue. Now, there are consequences. One consequence has just been described, which is paralysis of the economic sector. Another consequence is that the youth do not go to school, and that teachers do not get income.
And third one, the law.
And of course, same with the courts. That means lawyers do not get income, their children do not go to school, and prisoners do not get. They stay in prison knowing that 60 to 80% of them are waiting for the trial. So they are presumably innocent. They shouldn't be in jail. So this is increasing the time they are unnecessarily spending in jail. So the problem is we've tried other ways. All of the Cameroonians that are standing up today and going into the street or saying, I'm stopping the work, no matter what, have tried something else. and it did not yet result. So if we go back to the solution of saying, okay, we're going back to work because we can't stay without working, then we're going back to the very situation that led us
There'll
to
be
stop
wasted
working.
efforts, time and resources.
Exactly. No, moreover, it will be worse than before. So you'd better go to the end of the conversation and be sure you get the result. Because if you stop now, it means it was pointless crying out in the first place.
Mr. Akojon, you are not only a political analyst, you are equally a researcher as well. The first term was almost a blank one in the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon. Now the fate for the second term is not yet known. The third term, we don't yet know. What could be the implications?
Now, obviously, you know what we talk of a blank year. It will mean that the child has not been in school last academic year, and so he's supposed to warm back his seat next academic. And if I will tell you that I have had a problem with this country because we are ruled by some external elements. One time, one French president said, "L'État c'est moi," but I think it was not a good adage. And I think the most important, "L'État c'est nous," and meaning we make up the state. And so if something is affecting a citizens of the nation, it should be our problem. We should not wait for our brothers to be killed for us to agitate. We should equally agitate when a neighbor is killed. Yeah, if you don't have a state concern, the teachers have put a lot of demands. Why in Bamenda, one of the things they demanded was for the liberation of all those who were caught during this rioting. And I think it is right for negotiation to progress. And if we want to look for a long-lasting solution, they were arrested for this cause. If we realize that the cause is negotiable, then one part of negotiability is that the individual should be liberated. It is but normal. The state has that pen to just call the police barracks and say, okay, all those who are there because of the crisis, liberate them. And negotiation continues if really we want peace.
Mr. Fru John,
Yes.
you are not only a common lawyer, you are head of the legal team defending victims of the Zeka train accident which happened in the month of October.
Exactly.
The head of state equally talked about it a few seconds ago. Mr. Tria was worried about the ad hoc committee that has not up to now, even though the results are already on the table of the President of the Republic, like you earlier indicated. It's over 1 month. We're expecting results to be made public. It is not just going to end up. Do you have the impression that it's not going to end up like other findings that have been launched by the government?
I have no illusion. There will be nothing. Nothing will come out of that report of Ezeka. So that is why we are going ahead with the defense. We know who the transporter is. The transporter is Camera and is owned 87% by Group Bolloré and Total and Tannery. These are 3 French companies. And they are managed, that Camera is managed totally by the French. All the managers, all those who made that decision to overload those trains are the French. That's why we know that Group Bolloré is so powerful in Africa, French Africa, particularly in Cameroon. They manage the port of Douala, they manage the port of Kribi, they manage the railway system, they manage wood, they manage banana, they manage what do they not manage?
Palm oil.
So they are in power here, and if we try to make a defense here and negotiate with them here, we will get nothing. So we are going to their country. Their law has opened the road for us to go to their country and defend all those who were wounded and who died. We are Cameroonian lawyers. We are defending without looking at where you come from and who you are. We are defending everybody, including foreigners. I want to tell you that on a list of clients, I have 2 Ugandans who died in that train accident. We have Frenchmen, 2 Frenchmen who were wounded. I have an Italian priest who was killed in that train accident. So we are defending everybody. And we are not going to sit and listen and wait for the head of state to decide whatever he wants to decide.
Mr. Tria is talking about the head of state deciding, and I saw you actually reacting. You were laughing at his reaction. Now, where could the problem possibly be, given that he said the results of the ad hoc committee that was created by the head of state, headed by the Prime Minister, head of government, is already on the table of the President? Where could the problem be at this point?
If you actually saw me smiling while the barrister was emphasizing some few pertinent points, It is because I want to question the way lawyers were tortured in Boya, the way university students were tortured in Boya, the way teachers are being treated in this country. I want to question if the bar or the general law system in Cameroon is not paralyzed, because I am shocked today to see that French-speaking lawyers are silent. Some of them go but on TV stations and they make their voices to be heard. They should not believe that what happened to those English-speaking lawyers will not equally happen to them tomorrow.
Exactly.
We do not know what the government is planning to do tomorrow morning. Those French-speaking teachers who are seated and watching English-speaking teachers, and they are not saying anything, they should not think that what is happening to French-speaking teachers, English-speaking teachers, will not happen to them tomorrow. So I am very, very surprised to see why some of these French-speaking lawyers and teachers are seated. And they call it Anglophone problems. It is a general problem, because me as an entrepreneur, I am actually facing a lot of difficulties to implement some of the policies or my own strategies that I put in place to be able to assist the government in employing young Cameroonians. I am facing these difficulties in what sense? Because no investor will come into a country where lawyers are beaten the way they were treated in the Southwest region. No investor will come and invest in a country when the educational system is not respected. If you cannot respect a teacher who taught you how to read and write, then who do you respect? If you cannot respect a lawyer who will go and defend your business strategies and I don't know whatsoever in front of your partners, I think the state can never be respected. So my greatest surprise is this: why is it that the French-speaking lawyers and the French-speaking teachers are silent?
Mr. Akojon, Mr. Tria is deeply worried about lack of solidarity, to summarize what he said. Do you have a similar feeling?
Yeah, obviously, under actions of workers and laborers, what has killed this country from history is fragmentation, division, lack of solidarity, respect for a fellow worker, and it is still persistent. And I believe that if we live as Cameroonians, lawyers are affected, it should be all Cameroonians' lawyers' problem. Teachers are affected, as I said, it should be all teachers' problems, not people dividing pourquoi les anglophones s'engueulent pour rien. But at the end, I told some people, the benefits will come. I know, and as I'm insisting, the state is going to sign decrees to give some respect to teachers. It will not only go to Anglophone Cameroonians. Even those who were not on the strike, they will be favored. And so why do you sit down, waiting for others to sacrifice, and then
you wanted to react on that
of their labor?
Very briefly, because time is against us.
Yes, I did want to react to that by saying, first of all, I'm a people advocate, but I am French-speaking people advocate. So I do hope oh yes, I am. So I do hope that he's helping you putting into perspective the perception that Francophones don't think it is their issue. And I've said that it before here. This is a Cameroonian issue, and I think we should start, all of us, talking to Cameroonians to tell them this is a Cameroonian issue that we are dealing with. That's one thing. Secondly, on the strike, I am perfectly conscious, and I think CRM, as CRM, we are perfectly conscious of the fact that the sacrifices that are made by people who are down in the street at the moment. And I would like to say, it is not about us sitting down in our saloon and saying go ahead and bon
it's a general action.
No, it is the decisions of the affected people to make.
Okay.
So I would not want to leave this room making people to think CRM is encouraging people to continue to sacrifice themselves.
Okay,
it is their decision to
just
make.
Just very briefly before we go, because Mr.
Yes, I like to agree totally with him that our colleagues of this side, in their large majority, are not reacting to what happened to our colleagues in the Northwest and Southwest. Particularly the bar. I'm so disappointed with Nye Kamga, the bâtonnier. That's my colleague. That's the person with whom I was sworn in the same day. And I can tell you that he is afraid of his own shadow. It's not that he doesn't have the ability to react. But on the other hand, I talk to most of my colleagues, a lot of them are understandable of what is going on.
Mr. Chair, just in few seconds, just last words, because time is against.
They have a problem. The problem is that
just very briefly,
lawyers here are waiting for a red flag from lawyers in the Northwest and Southwest.
How many Cameroonians are going to die again for the French-speaking lawyers to take to the street to remind the President of the Republic and to remind the Bar Association and the bâtonnier himself that it is enough? How many Cameroonians are going to die?
And that does it for this edition of the special program as far as the speech of the President of the Republic of Cameroon is concerned. We thank our guests for being part of this edition of the program, our technical team as well that were heavily deployed, and to you televiewers for joining us as well. We wish you a blessed stay in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye.